Go ahead, Dr. Lev. Hey kids, what time is it?
Time for Gezintahait Street.
It is time for Gezintahait Street, and the story tonight is called The Inmost of the Utmost. The utmost being God, and the inmost of the utmost being the absolute inner level of godliness. One time, by the way, this month is the month of Kislev, that there are a lot of holidays, Hasidic holidays, and the famous holiday of Hanukkah in this month. And then the 19th of this month, the Alter Rebbe who wrote the Tanya was released from jail, from the Tsarist jail. And he was in there on the death sentence. So it's a big celebration. And one time when the 19th of Kislev, the previous Rebbe told of an event that occurred in Petersburg 3 days after the liberation of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe got out of jail. 3 days later, when the Jews of Petersburg heard about the Alter Rebbe's release, they thronged to his residence. To their disappointment, he announced that he would not deliver Chassidus publicly that day. 2 Jews pushed to the front of the crowd and pleaded with the Alter Rebbe. We're Jews who have been cast deep into Russia, they said. We do everything we can to serve Hashem. Through learning his Torah and doing his mitzvahs. Rebbe, please say a Torah that will strengthen our hearts in serving our Creator, the Holy One, blessed be He. After some time, the Rebbe came back to the courtyard, and he did deliver a Hasidic discourse. He explained the verse from Proverbs, as water reflects a face, so too the heart of a man to a man. By way of introduction, he quoted a verse from Psalms. A generation that seeks your countenance, Yaakov Selah, Selah meaning eternally. The seekers of Hashem's countenance, he said, is Hashem's inner dimension. That's what it means, countenance, his face, are the leaders of the generation. These seekers plead for the welfare of the generation by asking Hashem to reveal his inner countenance to Yaakov. Yaakov indicating the simple Jews of that generation. So the leaders of the generation search for the inner level dynamic of Hashem, that he should reveal himself to the simple people of the generation, thus enabling them to be doubly strong in their bond by connecting to the victorious eternality, the Selah of the Infinite One, blessed be he. According to our Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe's introduction of asking Hashem to reveal his face, meaning the innermost level of the infinite to Yaakov, the simple Jews, was a request that he bestow the level of Selah, the victorious eternality of Hashem, upon them. So our Rebbe says when the Alter Rebbe gave that verse from the Psalms, he was asking Hashem to reveal himself to the Jewish people. And that revelation of the innermost dimension was the point the Alter Rebbe explained in the beginning of the discourse. As water reflects a face, so too does the heart of a man reflect the heart. Our Rebbe continues by saying that every story, especially one about a Rebbe and told by a Rebbe, contains a lesson in our service of Hashem. The lesson is that each of us must arouse his true inner nature, the hidden essence of his soul, through the inner level of Torah, which is bound to the hidden aspect of the Holy One, blessed be he. That's the level of Selah, victorious eternality, eternal victory. By awakening our inner essence, we'll be able to arouse and awaken the soul essence of others, even those who are simple, unlettered people. And we accomplish it by connecting them to the inner teachings of Torah, Torah's Chassidus, through which they'll also become connected to the inner dimension of the Infinite One, the level of Selah. By us knowing a little bit of Chassidus and sharing with other people, they'll also be connected to Hashem. As Billy the Yid, this is an addendum. He's the one that came up with the inmost of the utmost. Used to say Chassidus is all about the inmost of the utmost. The previous Rebbe once said that in the statements of simple people can be found deep Torah wisdom. Those of us poor and das find in Billy's pronouncements Chassidus is the inmost of the utmost. He said Chassidus is about the inmost of the utmost. But we find in his statement that Chassidus is the inmost of the utmost. As our Rebbe teaches in a mimer and a sicha on Yud Tes Kislev, Chassidus is a new drawing down from the inner level of the godly crown all the way up to the Ein Sof, all the way up to the infinite. We want Mashiach now. Do we have a tuned up nigga now? Marvin, how do you like to?
Hi, Bezalel.
Hi, Marvin.
Hello, Laban. Laban. Look, I'm in.
Hi, my dear friend. Close friend.
My old friend.
I hear you might be open to some advice from an old wise guy. Yeah.
Well, I'm always willing to lend an ear to you.
Oh, great.
Other candidates.
Now, I got a question for Bezalel, though.
Yeah.
Bezalel,
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
So how does a guy like me, the Yetzer Hara, how do I get to the inmost, to the utmost? How do I get to the inner dimension of the inner dimension of Chassidus? How do I do that?
That's a very good question. What I would say is, since anyway, you're into making mischief.
Oh, yes.
And you're a revolutionary.
Oh, yeah.
You should sit down and learn Chassidus in a sincere way and allow yourself to be turned over to the good that you can use all your strength for.
All he's going to learn is how to fight himself. But that's what
Hey,
Lane,
you wanna make a chavrusa in Chassidus, me and you?
yeah, I think we could really go far.
That'd be a great idea.
Let's try it, Marvin.
Well, I remember that there was a bacher in the yeshiva once, and I was trying to get him to do some nasty things because that's my job. And then his mashpia came over to him, and he told him, the idea is not to learn Chassidus without your Yetzer Hara. The idea is to learn Chassidus with your Yetzer Hara. So we made a chavrusa, we learned Chassidus. We had a fun bringing. I don't remember nothing else after that.
Well, it got you to be on Gezintahait Street.
Yep, look how far it's gotten me today. Yeah, lame. I used to be a king, and now I'm sitting here with you guys. Hey, you know what? This is better than being a king. Hey, I hear you and Gimel got a special niggin that's fitting for this month, huh?
That's true.
Well, let me tell Gimel to get on here and tell us about it. Yeah. Okay, guys. See you later.
Take care. Take care, Marvin.
I'll see you later. Well, Bezalel, this is a special niggin because this niggin is called Hoda B'Sholem Nafshi. He redeems my soul with peace. And this is a niggin that we know that the Rebbe was from the day when he was let from prison, and like we know is now coming up when the middle Rebbe was let from prison. And this is a month of, and also by Chanukah, it's a month of redemption. So we have a special one.
V'heimo psicheis. Hashlich al Hashem Yeho Yichlecho V'yitin le'yelo Mikla tzadik V'yato Elohim Te'yiridei Melivei L'shachas V'yato Elohim Te'yiridei Melivei L'shachas Am Neshei Domim Umirimo Leyechetzu Yimeihem Am Neshei Domim Umirimo Leyechetzu Yimeihem Va'ani etachbo Va'ani etachbo Va'ani etachbo Va'ani etachbo Va'ani etachbo
He redeems my soul in peace. That's what Yaakov said. The parsha this week is called Vayeitzei, and it's about Yaakov leaving his home by Yitzhak and Rivka to go to Haran, which is a very nasty place. And that's the story of every Jewish soul. The home of every Jewish soul is in the godly world of Atzilus, which is symbolized by the name Havaya, our friend, the Yud Ke Vav Ke, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. And it said he went out from Be'er Sheva. The Be'er Sheva is this higher Hey, which indicates the level of Bina, the level of the mother. So let's call it the level of Rivka for Yaakov. And then the Yud will be the level of Yitzhak, the father, the level of Chachma. And the Vav, that's Yaakov, the 6 emotional attributes. And Yaakov connects to the Hey, which he's going to achieve when he gets to Haran, which is his wives, through which he's going to make the 12 tribes. The Jewish soul goes out of being included in godliness in the world of unification and goes out to this world, which is a world of separation, where godliness is not revealed. But in order to accomplish a great thing, and what Yaakov accomplished was getting his wives and being able to be the father of this 12 tribes who will be the progenitors of the Jewish people. So it says that Yaakov went out from Beersheba, like the soul goes out from the world of Atzilus, and he went out from Beersheba, where his parents lived, where he grew up. And that's like the soul leaves its place to go to Charon, to go to the world of hiding of godliness, to go into nature. Yaakov stops to sleep on the way. In sleep, the head and the feet are equal. It's when you have dreams, where there's a revelation of higher than nature. And that's like the angels on the ladder that were ascending to God. And it indicates that when we are in exile, when we're on our way, when we're living in Charan, when we're going out of the place of godliness, it's a dream. But that dream that we're having, where godliness is not revealed, is to bring us to a higher revelation. Elijah the prophet came to the Arizal, and he said to God, you are one, but not with the counting. In other words, not with a two afterwards. And that's the level called the Ancient One, the level called Atik Yoman, the Holy Ancient One, which is completely separate from the world and the chain of descent of the world. The next level down that he recounted is called the supernal of all supernals. Much higher than the world's, but still lower than the level of one that's not an accounting. And it's called Arhantan, the level of the crown, but it is higher than the world, but connected to them. Unlike the one that's not in accounting, is not connected to anything outside of itself. Then lower yet is a level called the 10 garments. Elijah says to Hashem, you bring out 10 garments to run the world. Havaya, which is the Histachos, the category of worlds, and we can see here in the 4-letter name is included of 10 spheros. There's the sphere of the Yud, which is wisdom. That's only one. And the sphere of the Hey, which is Bina, understanding. And then the sphere of the Vav, and the Vav is included of 6. And then the final Hey, which is thought and speech, how those 6 emotions are revealed. So that's what Elijah said, you bring out 10 garments. And those 10 garments are the 10 spheres of the world of Atzilus. And they're included in this holy name, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. And through bringing down the one who's on a level that's higher than counting, the Ancient One, into those 10 spheros of Atzilus. Through that, it's possible to make a dwelling place down here for Hashem. In the lowest world, a dwelling place for Hashem himself. The question is, and the level that's higher than nature is already running nature. Like it says, you brought out 10 garments through which to run the world. Nature is running nature now. No, higher than nature is running nature now. So it says, in order for Hashem to have a dwelling place in this world, to have the Ancient One be revealed in the spheres of Atzilus, it requires us to have Mesiras Nefesh. It's the only way to reveal godliness in the world, and Mesiras Nefesh means to give away our soul for God. The question is, why is it necessary? Because we see already higher than nature is already running nature. We're going to deal with 2 different names of Hashem. One is Havaya, the one I just showed you, the Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's the level that's higher than nature. And the second name is Elohim, which is the name that indicates how Hashem follows the rules of nature, and therefore he hides himself. But in order to have higher than nature revealed in nature, like happened when the Alter Rebbe was released from jail, he had a death sentence. Or when the previous Rebbe was released from the Tsarist jail, also under a death sentence, under draconian governments, Mesiras Nefesh was needed to reveal those miraculous incidents. And it was higher than nature. Who would think that Stalin would release the main Jew that was rebelling against him? And who would think the Tsar thought the Alter Rebbe was rebelling against his kingship, that the Tsar would release him? First, let's see how our Rebbe explains nature in order to understand all this and why it's necessary for God to be revealed in the world. To have Mesiras Nefesh when higher than nature is already running the world. First, let's understand what nature is. And our Rebbe brings 3 examples of what nature is.
So here,
Say again?
this I want to hear.
Okay.
No,
One.
I didn't want to hear the rest of it.
One. The Chacham.
This you really want to do. And this I really want.
There's a big rabbi called the Chacham Steve, and he says nature is miracles that happen continuously on schedule until they are not perceived as miracles. The sun comes up every day. It's a normal thing. The sun comes up. And that's what nature is. God, following the rules of nature, the recurring organized system of the universe.
God doesn't follow the rules, he sets the rules.
No, the rules of nature, that's God following those rules. That's what nature is.
No, that's God following his rules according to nature.
No, nature is a thing that God made up.
I know, but
Right.
God doesn't follow anybody's rules.
No, it's not it's his own rules
Right,
that he set up to make it look like God doesn't exist.
right. And that in itself is a very good definition.
Okay, that's a good definition. It's continuous miracles. I think the Rebbe explained someplace that we're in the desert for 40 years and they got the manna every day, the manna. After a while, they didn't see it as a miracle.
Well, especially the ones that was born in the desert, they didn't know nothing
They
else.
got
They
used
got
to it every day.
Especially the Shmender who decided to collect it on Shabbos.
That especially had bread from heaven, and it looked to them like it wasn't a miracle because it was every day.
It's like the old Freddy the freeloader joke that they come to him and they say you sleep in a bathtub and he says doesn't everybody? There's a time they came in the desert, they said wow, you guys get mun, you get these clouds, and they looked around, they said what do you mean, doesn't everybody? They thought
But only after a
it was
while.
natural.
Only after a while, it had to sink in, which is,
Well, if he was born there.
we're describing a world where every miracle
Second.
loses its kiddush,
The
which is
second,
nature.
the second explanation of nature, that nature, which is teva, it has from the same root as the word for a coin, matbea. Nature is like a roll of coins, and every coin has the same exact face: 2 eyes, a nose, 2 ears. Each coin expresses the nature of a person. That's what the coin is expressing, nature of a person to look like a man.
Well, how well the press was working that day.
The nature of the form of man. It's a little bit different by Hashem than us, because that roll of coins is only a metaphor, but by Hashem, even though every coin, every person is the form naturally of a man, each one is different. Each one has his own features, but they're all called Adam. They all have the form of a man. And the third explanation of what nature is nature, what it says in Tanya, is that which is higher than intellect can grasp. Right? What's that thing? Instinct. is nature. It has nothing to do with intellect.
Science
Okay.
seems to think they have a good beat on things.
Yeah, but ultimately they can't explain all of it.
In other words, they can't explain instinct. How does that bird know how to get to Miami Beach every year? Okay.
I'll
So
give you
maybe
another
his
one.
wife
Later, I'll
complained.
give you another one. I'll give you another one later. Tell me, according to science, what is love? They can't tell you.
I can tell you what it is. It's a sickness. It's a horrible sickness.
No label. Love is me and you and every Jew. That's what love is. But science can't tell you that.
Okay, so that is the third explanation, that nature is whatever is higher than intellect. And each one of these metaphors is an example of how Hashem, the name Havaya, Hashem working through the name Havaya, which is above nature, works through the name Elohim, which is the rules of nature, how Hashem hides himself in nature. Whenever Hashem's workings are explained through multiple metaphors, each metaphor illustrates a different point or angle in the godly action. Like we explained a few times, that in the creation of something from nothing, there are four metaphors: a sun and a ray, the soul and the body, and the power of the actor in the act, and the candle in its glow. Now, none of those metaphors by itself can capture the whole godly action of creation of something from nothing. Each metaphor contains a point that the other one doesn't. And therefore, you need all the metaphors to explain the godly act. So too in our case, we have three metaphors of what nature means. The first one, it's a continuous miracle illustrated how the created worlds are run. In other words, Hashem makes it look like it's just nature. The godly aspect of higher than nature, which is Havaya, is hidden in nature by following rules, which is Elohim. Two, the roll of coins, dynamic enlivenment of creation. That's the metaphor of the roll of coins, that the nature of a person is because that is the nature through which he's created, illustrates the nature of the form of the soul. Because to go into a body, the soul is what enlivens it, and the body's in a specific form, and it's because the soul has that form that the body could be a vessel for it. And the soul gives life to every creature, in particular the soul of man in our metaphor. Like Hashem says, let's make man in our image. You have the brain of the man, that's a level of godly intellect. You have the right arm of the godly man, that's the level of godly kindness. And the third metaphor, nature, that which is higher than intellect, illustrates that the creations are brought into being from nothing by Hashem. And there's no intellectual process that will grasp the fact of creation of something from nothing. An action which is out of the realm of intellectual grasp of human intellect, and even angelic intellect, and even supernal intellect. There is no thought that can grasp you. Nature is whatever is higher than intellect. So higher than nature is the name Havaya, is hidden, but works through the name Elohim. And the word nature in Hebrew can be translated to be sunken, to be sunk in, like sunk into an ocean. Meaning it's hidden. Nature is a hidingness of godliness. And each one of these metaphors is, wrong page, I think. Yeah. As we said, there are two dynamics in the creation of the worlds. Do you know what they are, Gimel?
Two dynamics in the creation.
Yeah.
Well, there's like the Ratzav Shuv, the dynamics.
The two dynamics are, one, Hashem brings the world into being, and two, he enlivens the world. Those are the two dynamics in
It's
creation.
also the desire to bring it into being.
Okay, but that's not, in other
But
words,
so-
two things that exist from nothing is how Hashem enlivens everything and how he brings it into being.
So
You're right, he has a desire for both, and we'll get to that.
Bitzalel, is that basically that the bringing them into being is time and space, and the enlivening them is soul, like the Nefesh Elam Shama?
Could be,
like
but
that?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure because he's saying bringing them into being is just ma'ayin, it's not time. and
Oh, that's
space.
not. No, that's something else.
Okay, Hashem enlivens the world. He gives life to the world. Which means like the soul of the world, which is the coins metaphor. The soul of a person is what gives him life, and that's what makes him into a man. And this can be understood by human intellect, how Hashem enlivens everything. Like my soul enlivens my body, and is the spiritual form which fits that body. A head above and feet below.
May it do so for 8,000 years, it's all.
Well, me.
Hashem brings the worlds into being from nothing. That's the other dynamic. One, he enlivens them, and one, he brings them into being from nothing. Unlike how they are enlivened, which is grasped with the intellect, and how they're enlivened, you could understand. But bringing them into being from nothing is higher than the grasp, of creations, higher than intellect. Even the dynamic of enlivenment, even though creatures feel they're alive, they don't feel or realize that life energy is godly. Person feels like there's this soul, there's this life energy, but I don't realize that it's God that's that life energy. So there's a hiding there. From a divine source, ergo, it seems nature enlivens us. That's nature. There's a soul that enlivens the body. And that's how Havai is hiding in Elohim. And one construct of the word nature, which means sunken, is like a chest that's sunken in the ocean. So that's going to be like the metaphor of enlivenment. You have this actual thing of the godly life, but it's going to be hidden. And it's going to feel like, oh, I have life. I have this energy that keeps me alive. Creations in the dynamic of enlivenment cover over and hide on the godliness that enlivens them. Similarly, godly power that creates everything from, now, the next metaphor, the godly power that creates everything from nothing, is also hidden from the creation. It's sunken. But sunken in this case, in the something from nothing metaphor, doesn't really express how the godly power that brings into being from nothing is not sensed or felt by the creatures. In other words, I feel that I'm alive, and I can realize that there's some kind of life energy in me keeping me alive. But this thing that I'm created from nothing is not felt or sensed at all. Not just they're being brought into existence from nothing is not felt as a godly dynamic, which would be similar to how the soul enlivens the body. As we said, there are two dynamics in the creation of the world. And world is a construct of the Hebrew root word meaning hidden. How is that? Helam is olam.
Yeah, Helam and Olam.
So the root of world and the root of hidden is the same world. Hashem enlivens worlds, meaning the soul of the worlds is Hashem. And this can be understood by human intellect. Like my soul enlivens my body. So I think I went backwards.
No, you're going forward.
No, but it's not sensed at all opposed to the realization of being alive where it is sensed. You know, I said I did that one last.
So we do our niggin and then we continue.
Wait, I'm just going to do a few more lines and then we'll have the niggin. But the godly power which brings everything into being is not dressed in the things that are being brought into being at all. The life force is dressed into the thing, but the power that brings them into being is not dressed in at all. It stays separate from it, and therefore thought cannot grasp it because it's not touching them. It's not felt or realized. Enlivenment, the soul of a person or a world or an individual creature, the form of a person is from the stamp of the first man. That's why the coin is the metaphor. And the form of the body is the vessel for the form of the soul. And the form of the soul dictates the form of the body, since the body is a vessel for the soul. You got a nigga?
Yeah, we got a niggin.
You want a cup? There's a cup there.
We have a niggin.
Yeah, I have a little appeal for you.
We have a nigga.
Yeah, we have a niggin. We definitely have, and we're gonna play it in just a moment.
You want to do your appeal now, or?
Oh God, I have
brother.
I have an appeal, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to tell you it's now a special month, the month of Kislev, and we have many Hasidic holidays in this. We have the Boit and the Yotzeit of the Mittler Rebbe, and we have the day of his freedom and of the Alter Rebbe, and we have coming up the holiday of Hanukkah. I want to ask every one of you, this year let us all come together and make a light. You know, this is actually similar, like Bitzalel was saying, that you know that nature is the first explanation was that it's miracles hidden in nature. On Hanukkah we reveal the miracles. Pirsumei Nisa. We go and publicize. We publicize the miracles that Hashem does. So I want to ask all of you, light a menorah. If you don't have a menorah, call your Chabad house near you. They will get you a menorah. You can go on Chabad.org, CHABAD.org, and there's a special lookup tool where you can find your closest Chabad house to you. You can put in your zip code or your city. You'll find a shliach, a Chabad rabbi next to you who can help you get the menorah. My dear brothers and sisters, let's get together this year and light up the world and bring Mashiach now.
All right. Shukaya.
That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we're having a nigga?
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to say that the big bracha of the Alter Rebbe being freed is not that he was allowed to continue breathing. It's that he was allowed
Good point.
to continue his mission in Makar and Yidden, not just at the time, but for centuries to come. So as long as it takes to bring Mashiach.
See, that makes sense. Well, that's why it's such a big holiday.
That's why.
It's really a holiday with
Some Russians,
very big implications.
Some Russians got together and somebody ultimately amongst those Roshoyim decided there's no point in killing this man because what he's connected to is so high, and where that point is, it looks down on us like we're a bunch of ants crawling under a rock. So what is the point of taking this man's life? The Alter Rebbe is like an Avad, like one of our Avos. He had that same spiritual protection. Avram Avinu, Yitzhak, they all had their forays into Mitzrayim. And you know, when you study the Chumash, that there was nothing that was going to touch them because Hashem was with them all the way. And that's the protection that the Alter Rebbe had at that time.
And the protection he gives us.
And the protection that he gives us.
If we follow in the clear path that he made for us.
That means loin de Tanya. It's important.
But even if your path isn't so clear, just as long as you're connected to what the path should be, you're on the
See,
path.
that's a good point. If you're reading Tanya and you don't quite understand it yet, it's okay. Just keep reading. That's the main thing. That's a great point, Lee. You don't have to, sometimes you wake up in the morning, Lee, and you're not sure, and Marvin comes to you and says, oh, ha, 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 how's my ha, ha, ha? Oh, Marvin comes, ha, ha, ha. And he makes you not sure. He makes you confused. That's what Marvin does. He makes you confused.
Tell him, Marvin, let's learn the Tanya.
Yeah, it's okay because
And you say to Marvin, let's learn the Tanya together.
let's learn the Tanya, Gezintahait, me and you together.
Okay.
We got a meeting?
Well, I also wanted to say another thing. Sorry. But I think that as a Yid, it's your responsibility to be sick, absolutely sick to death of this natural order. Hashem, as he just described, plays by a set of rules that he makes. And there should be something burning deep in your soul that says, stop. It's enough. Enough is enough. We've had enough of the natural order.
Enough Golos, enough exile. Time for Mashiach now.
Enough is too much already.
Enough is enough.
Okay, what do you have? We have the Vayeitzei? What? Yeah, and let me know what key we're holding.
Go, come sit down. Who is that guy?
This guy, I'll give him Ellen. I'm going to sing something for you.
Rabbi Klein, you want to hear?
Here we go. Yehi Rotzai. Yehi Rotzai. Yehi Rotzai. Yehi Rotzai milfonecho. Hashem Elokeinu, Vayeitzei, Vayeitzei, oh Tati our King, won't you do a good thing? And please return with your people, and the angels all sing, oh glorious King. Won't you please return with your people? They made you a crown. Won't you come back to town? And please return with your people. Oh, Tati, our King, you know it don't mean nothing unless you please return with your people. Beis Hamikdash b'yomeinu, Sein chelkeinu b'seirosecho. Shekone Beis Hamikdash b'yomeinu, Sein chelkeinu b'seirosecho. Hey, Shekone Beis Hamikdash b'yomeinu, Sein chelkeinu b'seirosecho. Sheipane Beis Hamikdash b'yomeinu, v'sein chelkeinu b'seirosecho. Sheipane Beis Hamikdash b'yomeinu, v'sein chelkeinu b'seirosecho.
Only something does we make love in your meno. The single game of a zero circle. Hey, shame on the base of me. Does we make love in your meno. The single game of a zero circle. Shame on the base of me. Zero circle. Shame on the Zamigdosh. They make love, they don't make no. The same girl can't know the same Osecho. Shame on the Zamigdosh. They make love, they don't make no. The same girl can't know the same Osecho.
That's a hit. I know a hit when I hear one. That's a hit. Now, there's two ways in the creation of the world, how Hashem brings the world into being. One, he brings the body of everything into being through his speech. All physical forms come about through Hashem's speech. But the form of the soul is brought into being from the godly desire, not from his speech. There's two ways of creation of something from nothing. The bodies and the form of the bodies come into being from the speech of Hashem. And the souls and the form of the souls come into being through Hashem's Ratzon. Through his desire. Not from speech. And the reason why both dynamics are needed in creation, if the body and the soul were both from desire, from Ratzon, they would be naturally nullified and unified with Hashem. Because Ratzon, desire, is internally connected. It's Hashem's desire. So if the physical creation was from Hashem's desire, there would be no free choice, because it would be completely unified and nullified by Hashem. Therefore, he creates it not from desire, but from speech. But if the creation was just from speech, since speech is separate from the one speaking, like speech goes out from a person, then creations would not be able to be nullified to Hashem at all, to do what Hashem wants. So if there was only Hashem's Ratzon for the creation, everything would be so nullified to the godly will, there would be no free choice, and therefore no reason for the creation. And if it's only through speech, it would be impossible for anything to be nullified. Everything would be separate. So what would be accomplished? So therefore, they're both needed, the body and the soul, to accomplish making this world a dwelling place for Hashem. The bodies from the speech illustrates a level called the lower das, the lower knowledge. The lower knowledge is like, I am alive, I exist, but my life and existence is from nothing. Nothing that I can comprehend. That's called the lower knowledge. Then there's the higher knowledge, the higher das, incorporated in the essence of the soul, which is the level of the godly desire, that the only true existence is Hashem and godliness. So you have the lower realization, which is I am in existence. Although I agree that my existence is from Hashem and therefore I'm nullified to what he wants. The difference between nature, the name Elohim, and above nature, the name Avaya, that's the difference between the lower das, that's like the name Elohim, where Hashem is hidden, and the higher das, which is the name Avaya, where there is nothing but Hashem. But both of them, the higher das and the lower das, Ratzon and speech, are both equally from Hashem himself. And he is higher than both. And he reveals these two aspects of godliness. The lower das, I exist as separate from Hashem. The dynamic that the infinite light is higher and removed without limit from creation. How do you say that? The Ori Sof is up and up without limit.
It doesn't stop.
And
In case.
this is the amazing thing.
Indicates.
This is the amazing thing. That is the lower das.
That the lower das is how he goes
The
in.
infinite light is up and up without limit.
So you're saying that the Abisher takes infinity and puts it in his hip pocket of his blue jeans?
Yeah, it's hidden all the way up into him.
It's like it's almost nothing.
Wow, what an Abishter.
Well, compared to Hashem, yeah, it's only a revelation that he has infiniteness. But he's
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of other stuff also
Oh, yeah, he's got a lot.
that we don't know about.
Yeah, he's got a lot of that in his bag of tricks.
But this is the amazing thing to me.
That's the lower
The
das.
lower das is that he's up and up without limit. Therefore, I can exist as separate from Hashem because the infinite is away, is up and
It's
up. Because if the infinite light would shine here, I couldn't exist. Right? That's logical.
It makes sense, Bitzalel.
Yeah.
If it came here, we would be, his light would be infinite, there would be no room for.
Now,
for
the
room for
higher
universes.
das, the das Elyon, is that the infinite descends lower and lower without stopping, even permeating and surrounding the lowest world is really only Hashem. That's the higher das, down and down without end. And Hashem is the true existence of even all of the separate worlds of the pure separate. And unifying these two concepts is through revealing their source, which is one in the essence of Hashem. And thereby unifying nature and that which is above nature, you are one, but not in a countable way. But neither of these dynamics of Das capture the essence of Hashem. Like you said, Hashem is completely removed and separate from even
Kaddish moved though.
these great revelations. The revelation of Hashem's essence is higher than either dynamic, will be revealed when his essence, not the infinite light, but Hashem himself, as a dwelling place in this lowest world. The real revelation of godliness in nature. Jacob's ladder in the dream, Hashem stands on top, and the angels raise up our Torah and mitzvot, and through that Hashem descends to dwell with us here, completely bypassing the chain of descent, even the angelic, into this physical world in eternal perfection.
Bitzalel, is that why there was angels going up and angels going down? Because they was going down, and up.
Something like that.
Well,
That's a big ladder.
I have to
It's
go back
infinite.
to that mimer and check that out. Because they were going up and down, so it means they were carrying up the Torah and mitzvahs, and they were bringing down the godly pleasure into the world. But since they're limited created creatures, I'm not sure exactly.
They were the ones going up and down.
I'll try it next week. I'll try to.
That's an interesting thing though.
Yes. And Hashem is standing on top.
Yeah, standing on top of the ladder.
Mitzvah alone.
Yinei Hashem Nitzav Olav, behold, Hashem is standing on top.
And the whole deal is.
Like color, it's Kevoidei, and he fills the whole world with his eyes.
And the whole deal is for who? For Yaakov.
Yeah, for a Jew.
Yeah.
That's for who? He doesn't
Good
just for a Jew. Bitzalel, before we do our niggin, I just want to say hi to our friends, Omer Kadison and Abba Steinhauser and Angelica, Jennifer, and all of our friends watching. It's so good to be with you, and thank you for joining us. What we got? We got a nice niggin.
yeah.
And again,
I did. This is dedicated to the time when we learned. This is dedicated to the time when Chassidus won't seem so complex and mechanical to a time where it seems like it flows so easily and understood. Do you know what I mean? Like when Mashiach comes.
That's a good time when Mashiach comes.
God will be revealed.
And it'll be real simple to understand that.
Yeah.
I want to say before we still say those niggin that everybody out there say whatever you know how to say, whether it's a capital Tehillim, a chapter of Psalms, or a prayer.
Say
We say for Henya Bas Bracha Devoir Aleya should have a for Shalema as speedy recovery. Okay, mate, what are you playing? Oh. Hey, ay, 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 my, ay, 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 my, ay, 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 my, nida. Ay, 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 my, ay, 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 my, ay, 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 my, ay, ay. Hey, da, 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 my, ya, my, ay, 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 hey, da, 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 my, ay, 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 hey, da, 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 hey, da,
So we're gonna have our sign off, nigga, now, if everybody's okay.
Yeah, what's the key?
God.
Where's the
Remember, kids, Gezintahait.
Yeah, Gezintahait.